Did you know that the Romans not only dominated the battlefield with their legions, but also with a silent and fierce force? Imagine being in the midst of a battle and, instead of just soldiers, encountering war dogs, armed and trained to kill. Few people know this, but these animals were not just simple battle companions. They were ingeniously equipped and meticulously trained to be relentless combat machines. Now think about everything you know about combat dogs and throw it out, because what you're about to discover goes beyond imagination. These dogs didn't just follow orders. They wore special armor, and their attack techniques were carefully planned by Roman strategists. And what if I told you that these dogs were trained to fight even the most skilled warriors, without hesitation? Today, you'll dive into the depths of a military secret that few know: the engineering behind Roman war dogs. We'll explore how they were trained to fight alongside the legions and what equipment turned them into true living weapons. What's coming next will completely change your view of Rome's power. Get ready to discover how Roman military intelligence spared no effort, even with their four-legged allies. The selection of Roman war dogs was a meticulous and strategic task. The chosen breeds needed to exhibit strength, endurance, and bravery to face the harsh conditions of the battlefield. Among the preferred breeds were the Molossians, large and muscular dogs, ancestors of modern mastiffs. These animals were known for their loyalty and physical power, capable of taking on even the fiercest warriors. Intelligence was also a crucial trait, as these dogs were not just brute force. They needed to understand complex commands and work in sync with the Roman legions. In addition to breed, the selection process involved rigorous temperament testing. Only dogs with an exceptional level of control and discipline were considered fit. Any sign of fear or hesitation could be fatal in battle, so trainers focused on dogs that demonstrated controlled aggression. This balance was essential because a dog that attacked recklessly could break the military formation, endangering the entire unit. The goal was to find dogs that could maintain focus and composure, even under intense pressure and noise. Another important factor was physical endurance. The dogs needed to cover long distances alongside the troops and still be ready for combat. Robust health and the ability to withstand injuries were frequently tested, as these dogs needed to be true fighting machines. Dogs that could not handle these conditions were discarded from the training program. Ideally, they were as tireless as the legionaries themselves, ready to fight to the end. The integration between man and dog was crucial. So from a young age, the selected dogs were exposed to military environments. They grew accustomed to the sounds of swords, shouts, and the constant presence of soldiers. This exposure ensured that by the time they reached adulthood, they were fully integrated into the war environment. This early acclimatization was an essential part of their preparation, shaping not just a canine soldier, but a true war partner. The Romans understood that psychological factors also played a vital role. Dogs with a strong bond with their trainers were more loyal and responsive, and this mutual trust often determined success in battle. Thus, the selection process involved a deep connection between the dogs and humans, creating a cohesive and relentless unit in combat. The training of Roman war dogs was an art in itself. It began with basic obedience, like any guard dog, but quickly evolved into much more sophisticated commands. Roman trainers devoted themselves to teaching the dogs to attack and bite vital points of the enemy, such as the neck and limbs, incapacitating the opponent swiftly. To achieve this, they used training dummies with armor similar to that of the enemies, allowing the dogs to become familiar with the type of adversary they would encounter in battle. In addition to targeted attacks, the dogs were also trained to withstand pain and fear. Constant exposure to loud noises, such as shouting and trumpets, was part of the process, as chaos reigned on the battlefield. The Romans knew that a frightened dog might flee or attack randomly, which was unacceptable. Therefore, trainers subjected the dogs to controlled stress situations to ensure that under pressure, they maintained focus on commands and the task of neutralizing the enemy. Another vital aspect of training was teamwork. The dogs did not act alone. They were an extension of the legion. Thus, they learned to work in conjunction with soldiers, protecting the Roman ranks and attacking when necessary. In many cases, The dogs were used as the first line of defense, unleashed against the enemy formation to break its cohesion and pave the way for the legionaries' attack. This synergy between man and animal was carefully choreographed. Training also included the ability to distinguish friends from foes, a crucial skill in the chaotic combat environment. The dog's keen sense of smell was trained to identify the scent of Roman soldiers, preventing them from attacking their own comrades. This was achieved through repeated exposure to Roman soldiers' uniforms and pheromones, creating an olfactory memory that differentiated allies from enemies, even amidst the confusion. Training was not limited to physical attacks. The dogs were also taught to serve as messengers between units, carrying vital information through the lines of battle. Their speed and agility made them ideal for this task. Additionally, their presence had a psychological impact on the enemy, often emotionally destabilizing opposing troops even before the physical confrontation. Roman war dogs were not just natural fighters. They were also equipped with armor and tools that made them even more lethal. The use of armor on dogs was a strategic innovation by the Romans, who understood the importance of protecting their canine companions in battle. These armors were made from reinforced leather or lightweight metal, covering the dogs' backs, necks, and heads. The protection of vital areas helped ensure that they could withstand blows from spears, swords, and even arrows, allowing them to continue fighting even under attack. The armors were designed to not compromise the dog's mobility. The weight and fit of the pieces were carefully considered so as not to hinder their agility on the battlefield. For example, the dogs' heads were protected by helmets, often adorned with crests that, in addition to intimidating the enemy, protected the eyes and skull from serious injuries. The sophisticated design of these armors reflected the level of engineering that the Romans applied to all their war tools, including their animals. In addition to armor, war dogs were frequently equipped with collars with metal spikes, serving as extra weapons in close combat. When advancing against the enemy, these collars not only increased the impact of the attack, but also helped to wound and destabilize the opponent. The presence of these tools made the dogs doubly dangerous adversaries, not only due to their direct attacks, but also because of the physical traps they carried. The Romans also experimented with other types of equipment to increase the lethality of the dogs. Some accounts suggest that, in specific situations, the dogs were equipped with small containers of Greek fire strapped to their backs. Although this technique was rare and risky, it illustrates the Romans' willingness to maximize the psychological and physical impact their dogs had on the enemy, always seeking ways to innovate on the battlefield. The engineering applied to canine equipment was an extension of Roman strategic thinking, which viewed every detail as an opportunity for military advantage. The equipment was not just a form of protection, but an essential part of the plan to make these dogs unbeatable and feared. The combination of technique, strategy, and technological innovation made war dogs a crucial piece of Rome's arsenal. War dogs played a decisive role in Roman military strategies. They were used as the first line of attack in many battles, unleashed against enemy infantry to disrupt their formations and spread panic. The sight of a group of armed dogs charging at full speed was enough to break the morale of many troops, especially those less prepared to handle the chaos generated by fierce animals. The dogs also served as a physical barrier, protecting Roman soldiers during strategic advances or retreats. In addition to their offensive use, war dogs were crucial in protecting the legions during the night. They acted as sentinels for fortifications, patrolling the camps and alerting soldiers to any approaching threats. With their keen hearing and sense of smell, the dogs detected the presence of enemies long before human soldiers, allowing the troops to prepare for surprise attacks. This defensive role made the dogs not only combatants, but also irreplaceable sentinels in the Roman army. During sieges, dogs were strategically employed to penetrate enemy defenses. When the Romans needed to breach fortifications or confront heavily entrenched forces, the dogs were sent ahead to destabilize the defenders. This created gaps in the enemy lines that the legionaries quickly exploited. The dogs' ability to traverse defenses and cause confusion made them a perfect weapon for the siege strategies that Rome mastered so well. The psychological impact of war dogs cannot be underestimated. For many of Rome's enemies, facing an army was already a frightening experience. But when that army was accompanied by fierce and relentless dogs, the terror was multiplied. Less experienced or superstitious troops often panicked, which completely disrupted the battle. This psychological advantage was something the Romans exploited to the fullest, creating an atmosphere of fear even before the first blow was struck. The importance of war dogs in the Roman legions transcends their purely tactical role. They represented Rome's innovative and relentless spirit, always seeking ways to outdo the enemy, whether through force, strategy, or sheer terror. These dogs were not just combat tools, but vital elements in the machinery of war that propelled Rome to military supremacy.